Well, hello. It's a lovely day for a walk. It's only about 96 degrees and about 96% humidity. Last mile to Grandma's house. 3/4 of that mile goes through here, along Miserable Person Mountain. This spring we found this giant 3DX made from 2 snapped off and peeled dead timbers, imported and stabbed or pounded into the earth. Makes me wonder about Sasquatch wood knocks. Could some of those wood knocks be hammering timbers into the ground? Anyway, that 3DX is here. We found this peeled and snapped off at both ends timber, 30-foot timber, hanging up in this tree. Hanging like Absalom in a tree. Someone carried it over here and, hurled it up there like a javelin maybe? Or climbed up with it and hooked it in there somehow. That was just a little up the road here. And quite a few other full-size timber structures we found up around here, concentrated here. Let me remind you, we are in Jinseki Sanwa, Hiroshima Prefecture, Japan, on the trail of the Hibagon, the Japanese Bigfoot. Quite literally on his trail today. And you don't have to be an expert tracker to find this trail. And I'll remind you, too, that several Hibagon sightings occurred right here in Jinseki Sanwa. Now, today we start our walk down at the other end, and immediately we find, it starts off small. It's a little peeled tree lying across this creek. Did it just fall there? A little inspection says no. No, it did not just fall down there. The soil is undisturbed. No, this tree has been snapped at its base and snapped at that big root. And the tree has been peeled. I don't know in what order all of this transpires. And then carried here and laid down there. Now this alone, I'd say, big deal. It's small enough that I could have dragged it here. Maybe it fell off someone's truck, and then the next guy coming along just removed it from the road. Yeah, I'd buy a story like that. But you see, it's part of a bigger whole. Something that we're not going to be able to explain away with elderly Japanese farmers. So, next, after this tree across the creek, and don't forget this tree across the creek, we're going to see so many trees across creeks along this 3/4 mile walk, way too many. And we've seen an imported peeled tree laid over a creek on Mount Zao in a previous video. Please Please remember and please watch for trees across creeks. But the next element here is timbers laid down parallel to each other and perpendicular to the creek or roadside. Okay, right off you see two timbers here lying right beside each other, and a third jammed between them, longsword style, and a fourth timber there in the background, same alignment. All right, farther up the hill, 4 or 5 very thick trees laid down across the hillside. You'd think they'd roll down, but no, they've been laid down there with care and all together. So, if natural forces did this, if Mother Nature did this, let's think this. Trees down the hill here fall parallel this way, perpendicular to the creek, but up the hillside, trees fall parallel to the creek, and they all fall down together like in some horrible suicide pact. So we have 9 or 10 trees apparently involved in some kind of death cult. Okay. Then we have 3 or 4 snapped trunks, all snapped off at about the same height, which is higher than I could reach, about 3 meters up, about as high up as this tree is peeled here on Mount Heba. Now, some of those snaps are looking pretty fresh. And all of this is centered around these 2 majestic, beautiful trees that seem to be dancing a pas de deux. Okay, stop and wonder with me. Just wonder. Do the Hebegon see beauty? Do they appreciate it? Do they acknowledge it? Do they glory in it? Of course, I don't know, but I think those are interesting questions. These trees remind me very much of this awesome tree on Mount Heba with its equally awesome floating hanger. And I'm not a tree guy, but unless I'm mistaken, I think this is a Japanese beech tree. And these are Japanese beech trees. And the top of Mount Heba is covered in virgin Japanese beech forest. Now, the beech tree, according to Wikipedia, let me read you this. Quote, "The edible fruit of the beech tree, known as beech nuts or mast, is found in small burrs that drop from the tree in autumn. They are small, roughly triangular, and edible, with a bitter, astringent, or in some cases mild and nut-like taste. According to the Roman statesman Pliny the Elder in his work Natural History, beechnut was eaten by the people of Chios when the town was besieged. Writing of the fruit, that of the beech is the sweetest of all, so much so that, according to Cornelius Alexander, the people of the city of Chios, when besieged, supported themselves wholly on mast. Wikipedia goes on, the leaves can be steeped in liquor to give a light green-yellow liqueur. That sounds good. They can also be roasted and pulverized into an adequate coffee substitute. End of Wikipedia quote. Well, if you had to spend the winter hiding out in a cave, imagine that, hiding out in a cave all winter, feeling almost like you were under siege. It might be pretty convenient for you if that cave were located in or near a beech forest. That would let you support yourself wholly on beech nuts, beech mast. So that would be pretty good for you. Okay, now stop and wonder with me about this. Do you think the Hibagon feel any kind of sense of gratitude for their daily bread, whether that's swine flesh or man flesh or beech mast? Do you think they're grateful? The people here in Japan, the Japanese people, are animists. That means they worship natural objects and even erect shrines to natural objects like notable boulders or waterfalls or trees, special trees. Do you think the Hibagon could be animists? I'm not asking about likelihood now, but, well, just look. I'll put it on the whiteboard just for now, just in really small writing, just as a possibility, maybe. One that we can't rule out yet. Shouldn't rule out. Okay, another question. This is a very philosophical walk in the forest. Do you think the Hibagon are capable, on any level, of any sort of husbandry? Husbandry defined as 1, the care, cultivation, and breeding of crops and animals, or 2, management and conservation of resources. Well, I'd say that the Hibagon are capable of husbandry just by default, even by doing nothing, just by sitting on their hands. Just because they're not paving everything over with asphalt and concrete. That makes them kind of superior at the management and conservation of resources. I would say superior to us. Do you think they have any notion of, even a primitive notion, of fertilizer? Using whole logs would be, again, I think, superior to our practices. You'd get the whole range of minerals going back into the soil instead of just 2 or 3 minerals that promote leaf growth, so your vegetables look pretty, but they're nutritionally empty. Whether intentional or not, or conscious or not, those logs because they're stacked up there, they're going to replenish the soil for those trees, which those trees might need after who knows how long of selflessly producing beech mast out of that soil. Right? I mean, it's a good thing that that pile of logs is there, because I would bet that it's going to extend the lives and the productivity of these trees. So that's good. Yeah. I don't know. Do you think the hebegon is a dumb, overgrown monkey? I don't. Do you think it's a bloodthirsty, rabid monster? I don't. I think some of them are, maybe. I don't know. I know some of us are. But your average hebegon, no, I don't think so. I think they're mostly peaceful. I think they're highly intelligent and maybe, surprisingly, maybe once you got to know them, surprisingly sensitive and deep. Or maybe not. We're still at the brainstorming stage where pretty much everything goes and stays on the whiteboard. All right, this arrangement is here where the star is. If you hiked over that hill, it would take you straight to the mountain with the castle ruins, where the road up to the castle, you remember, was roadblocked by several trees laid across the road. Remember, I tried to get up there, but I didn't want to step over those road-blocked trees, so I came back down, and my family was waiting by the car, and there was a foul odor around them that came up around them while I was gone. That's where. Well, I'm Kyle, and come along with me again next time as we just stroll up this road toward Grandma's house, and let's see if we find anything else interesting, if this was interesting. Okay, thank you.